So more frequently than I would like, I get emails from people asking how strong I think their own characters are. An own character being a character created by somebody that exists in somebody else's universe. And since I run a page about Naruto, most of these characters exist in the Naruto universe. And while some of the ideas presented through these emails are kind of interesting, which is actually why I'm making today's video, because I got one that kind of piqued my interest, the majority of these videos are people asking me how strong Obito would be if he had the 8 gates. To which there's only really one answer: just stronger. Like, you want to know how strong your character with the Rinne Sharingan, the 8 gates, and Choji's food pills would be? Incredibly strong. But I got an email amongst the riffraff that actually genuinely piqued my interest. Somebody reached out to me and said,
Do you know how in Dark Souls or in Elden Ring, people try and buff as many abilities on top of each other to try and one-shot bosses?
if you were to try and stack every single potent ability in Naruto on top of each other to make the best one-shot character, what abilities would you use? Which got me thinking, if you were to sit down and make a character within the confines of Naruto that doesn't have 19 eyeballs in his body so he can have 19 Rinne Sharingan, or anything ridiculous like that, and use the rules of the Naruto universe to construct what would quite possibly be the strongest a character could be, what would that character look like? So this character could only have 2 eyes. Taijutsu prowess as high as any Naruto character in Naruto has achieved. Ninjutsu prowess as high as any character in Naruto has achieved. And if you were to handpick all the best elements that bring a shinobi together and add them all on top of each other, what abilities would that shinobi have? And from where would you nitpick those abilities or affinities? And beyond that, what makes a shinobi a shinobi? How many categories is there to a shinobi? Is it just speed, stamina, attack power, and defensive power? Or is it ninjutsu, taijutsu, genjutsu, their status as to whether or not they're a jinchuriki? Well, I sat down for about 20 minutes with my very Naruto-centric brain and decided that the bigger the better. I decided that the components that make a ninja are speed, dojutsu, ninjutsu, taijutsu, chakra, jinchuriki, yes or no, defensive power, attack power, genjutsu, hacks, and equipment. Well, obviously there's other things I could take into consideration. I'm trying to not have an endless list here. And now, using my endless Naruto knowledge, I have created a completely unrealistic but technically possible ninja. So if you were to construct the strongest possible ninja in Naruto, what would that look like? Well, before we get into that, guys, please, for me, like this video, subscribe to the page, and hit that noti bell. And if you think I know a lot about Naruto, then you should see the knowledge I have on other anime on my other page, The Weeb Commander, where I talk anything that's not Naruto. And if you like the idea of me talking about other anime and Naruto, you should follow my brand new anime podcast, Otaku's Anonymous, where me and Danny Mata break down everything that happened in anime this week. It's available on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. I'd like to get out ahead of this and say that I myself have made own characters in the Naruto universe. There's absolutely nothing wrong with creating your own characters within the confines of existing IP. In fact, it's kind of fun, as having a deep understanding and grasp on how a universe already operates allows creating a character that seamlessly fits into how that universe operates kind of easy. And therefore, those who are incredibly passionate and knowledgeable about certain IPs are fantastic at working their characters into the story seamlessly. What I do have a problem with is when your own character just happens to be some amalgamation of every catchword in the IP to make your character god above everybody else. It's lazy, it's contrived, and quite frankly, it's boring. The MC being hilariously overpowered and never having to struggle is the exact reason I no longer watch isekai.
Oh, the incel who died in the real world is now super strong and nobody can bully him anymore.
But it's about time somebody laid this trope to bed, and I figured with the amount of knowledge and expertise I have in the Naruto universe, I should be the one to do it. So now I get to stop getting emails about how to make the strongest character in Naruto, and you can just steal my idea and pretend it's yours. Should we get to the character? All right, let's do it. So the first category we're going to be talking about is speed. Now this category is kind of interesting to me because speed, as we usually see it at the highest level in Naruto, is tied to ninjutsu. The fastest characters we've seen in the Naruto universe go as follows. It goes Minato with Flying Raijin, Naruto with his KCM2 cloak, and then the fourth Raikage with his lightning cloak. However, the problem is that the speed that these three gain is all derived from ninjutsu. And as ninjutsu is its own category, we open up with kind of a quandary. Do I allow for ninjutsu-based speed to fill out our speed category, or do I go with somebody like Shisui, who's able to use the body flicker technique, which isn't a ninjutsu? It's just moving so quickly that you leave physical after images. A technique that makes you so fast that it's been likened to Flying Raijin, even though it's nowhere near Flying Raijin. And here's the thing, if it was Nick making today's video, then yes, I would choose body flicker. As Shisui and anybody who can use the body flicker technique, of which there actually is a bunch, are the fastest people in non-ninjutsu based speed. But it's not Nick making today's video, it's an isekai mangaka writing a story with within the confines of Naruto, about a dude who couldn't talk to a girl for the first 35 years of his life until he saw one about to get hit by a bus, so he pushed her out of the way to get hit by that bus, and therefore woke up in the Naruto universe only to find out that he's stronger than every other ninja in the history of ninja. So yes, they're getting Flying Raijin, because Flying Raijin is by far and away the fastest jutsu in Naruto. While things like KCM2, Body Flicker Technique, and A's Lightning Cloak allow you to move very quickly, with Naruto in his KCM2 mode able to move at near light speed, Flying Raijin goes immeasurably beyond that. See, Flying Raijin isn't technically movement, it's teleportation, and instantaneous teleportation. We're not talking beam me up, Scotty here. There's no departicleization you have to go through to get put somewhere else. Minato is able to summon himself in a reverse summoning contract to any seal he's placed anywhere instantaneously, as Flying Raijin allows Minato or any user of Flying Raijin to enter a dimensional void that exists between two separate dimensions. And as this is a dimensional void, there is no matter there, meaning there is technically nothing to stop Minato from moving at far beyond light speed, as light speed is technically the fastest that anything in our universe can travel. Kind of, not really. Actually, the most recent Nobel laureate actually proved that electrons can send signals to each other faster than light speed. We don't know how they do it, but they do it. My own personal theory is that electrons are able to jump between different dimensional planes because we've actually seen them do that before. And therefore, in order to send signals to each other from massively far distance away at further than light speed, they send those signals through other dimensions where matter may be less. What do I know? So when it comes down to it, having the Body Flicker Technique or the Lightning Cloak or KCM2 is incomparable to instantaneous movement. Because if Minato were standing on one side of the universe and somehow had a seal on the other side of the universe, he could travel across the universe instant, not in a millionth or a billionth of a second, 0 seconds flat, which is a relevant speed. So good start. You're the fastest entity on Earth, if not in the universe. Throw in Naruto or Kawaki's reaction time, as we've seen both of them react to and adjust to light speed attacks, with Naruto doing it against the likes of Madara and Kaguya, and Kawaki doing it against the likes of Delta. And that's about as fast and as well as you can react in the Naruto universe. After speed, let's go to Dojutsu. Now this actually is surprisingly kind of a contentious spot, because quite honestly, there's 3 choices that are the right choices. The most obvious choice that most people end up making is the Rinne Sharingan, which is fair. 3 Rinnegan, Madara, Kaguya, and Hagoromo are some of the strongest entities to ever exist in Naruto, and the majority of that strength was tied into their Rinne Sharingan. As with the power of their Rinne Sharingan, they were able to do things like infinite Tsukiyomi, or in the case of Kaguya, use incredibly broken abilities like Ame no Minaka. She could instantaneously teleport parts of whole other dimensions to her current location. But the other correct answer is the Tenseigan. Much in the same way that the Rinne Sharingan is the logical upgrade of the Rinnegan and the Sharingan, the Tenseigan is the logical upgrade of the Byakugan. And we've only ever seen 2 people wield it, Toneri and Hamura. But we never got to see the abilities that Hamura gained with the use of the Tenseigan. We did get to see what Toneri gained, which was a Chakra Cloak and abilities very similar to that of a 10-Tails Jinchuriki with a Rinne Sharingan, or at least a 10-Tails Jinchuriki with a Rinnegan, as Toneri with the use of his Tenseigan Chakra mode was able to fly and use True Seeker Orbs, a Kekimura that's usually only accessible to those that are a 10-Tails Jinchuriki. And this Tenseigan Chakra mode allowed Toneri to go toe-to-toe with the strongest version of Naruto we've ever seen outside of Baryon mode, and that's Naruto in the Last. Naruto a couple years after the war arc, but before he became Hokage. And with the power of this Tenseigan, we saw Toneri pull off what is probably the strongest attack we've ever seen in Naruto, that being Golden Wheel Rebirth Explosion, a technique that he used to cut the moon in half. Now, while technically things like Chibuka Tensei are the things that created the moon in the first place, Chibuka Tensei is a sealing technique and requires 2 people, while Golden Wheel Rebirth Explosion only requires 1 person and can destroy said moon that was created using Chibuka Tensei. So the real question becomes, which would you rather have, the Rinne Sharingan or the Tenseigan? Or would you rather have the Jogan? See, as Boruto currently stands, the Jogan is the Eye of Shibai, the Eye of the Otsutsuki God. An eye that Shibai has either collected or manifested hundreds of. An eye that's said to make Boruto a threat that Momoshiki is wary of. An eye that might be the product of Hagoromo and Hamura's chakra coming together from Hinata and Naruto. However, unfortunately, as it currently stands, we don't really know the abilities of the Jogan. So while we know that the Jogan is probably the strongest dojutsu in the entirety of the Naruto universe, we don't really know how much stronger it is than things like the Tenseigan and the Rinne Sharingan, which we have actual feats for. So as it currently stands, unfortunately, I'm going with the Rinne Sharingan. Well, obviously with the power of the Tenseigan, and pretty much just the power of the Tenseigan, because prior to having the Tenseigan, Toneri was nothing that special. Toneri was able to be on par with the likes of the strongest Naruto we've ever seen outside of Baryon mode. The sheer amount of hacks conveyed with having a Rinne Sharingan is kind of nuts. But I know what you're saying. You're saying,
Nick, didn't we say they have two eyes? Couldn't they have a Tenseigan and a Rinne Sharingan?
and absolutely, they could, because there's no rules and I hate everything. But having a Tenseigan and a Rinne Sharingan's a bit like a hat on a hat. What do we need, double True Seeker orbs? Well, obviously having both would be incredible. It's genuinely not necessary, especially when you consider the fact that there are other very powerful dojutsu that would be more compatible. Most specifically, the Senrigan. See, the Senrigan is a Shinjutsu that's been introduced to us in Boruto. And just like all Shinjutsu, it hails from Shibai. And the Senrigan, while it doesn't confer you any physical powers, confers you insane mental powers. You see, the Senrigan essentially gives you infinite knowledge. Ada with the power of the Senrigan can see everything that's going on Earth whenever she wants to. Ada could be in Morocco right now, and with the power of her Senrigan, she could watch me make this video. And the power of the Senrigan expand beyond just the current moment, as Ada can see everything that happened on Earth from the day she was born. And since Ada is 16, that means anything that's happened in the last 16 years, Ada can see immediately. Meaning all of the knowledge of the world in the past 16 years is accessible to Ada. Even if the Senrigan only allowed you to access what was going on currently, that is an incredibly broken ability. But being able to see the entirety of history from the moment you were born, whenever you want, on demand, is terrifying. There is not a secret, a weakness, a battle, or any information you could not have your hands on. And upon knowing that Ada has access to the Senrigan, every conversation you now have, you know that she can listen to. Meaning that unless you can communicate telepathically like the Yamanaka, everything you ever say, you will now be afraid to have her hear. And considering the fact that this character is going to live for thousands of years, that means that this character will have access to all of the information in probably the majority of human history. So yeah, no need to double down on powerful dojutsu when you could grab the dojutsu that gives you access to the entirety of the human consciousness. But enough about dojutsus, let's talk about ninjutsu. Now there's really two separate ways you could attack the ninjutsu category. One, you can say, I want the ninjutsu prowess of X, or you can say, you get one ninjutsu. I'm gonna give you both answers, because honestly, I can't choose. So if you're gonna take the ninjutsu prowess of somebody and therefore have their ninjutsu catalog, there's really only two people you would want to choose from. Well, two logical people. Because obviously I could sit here and say that you want the ninjutsu prowess of 3 Rinnegan Madara, or you want the ninjutsu prowess of Shibai, but that's technically a Shinjutsu prowess. The more fun and interesting answer to this question is that you would either want the ninjutsu prowess of Hiruzen or Kakashi. See, while Kakashi might seem like an obvious answer here because he's known to have copied thousands of jutsu and still have access to all of them even without his Sharingan, which probably makes Kakashi's ninjutsu catalog larger than anybody else's, Hiruzen also has a massive ninjutsu catalog. See, Hiruzen, while he was the Hokage, was referred to as the Professor, as Hiruzen was known to have mastered every single jutsu of the leaf. And we don't know exactly how many jutsus that is, but we do know that he managed to master every single one outside of Flying Raijin. And honestly, every single time we've ever seen Hiruzen fight, he lives up to this name of Professor, as he uses a myriad of different and unique ninjutsu that we never get to see used again. Now, while some of these ninjutsu are stupid, like Roof Tile Shuriken, some of them are really cool, like his Earth Dragon Bullet. However, when it comes down to it, honestly, I have to go with Kakashi here. See, Hiruzen did master every single jutsu of the leaf, but we don't know whether or not Kakashi has mastered every single jutsu of the leaf. Kakashi was actually very close to Hiruzen and saw Hiruzen battle numerous times. It's a possibility with the power of his Sharingan, he copied the majority of Hiruzen's jutsu. On top of that, Kakashi has been copying jutsu from ninja outside of Konoha for as long as he's had the Sharingan, which means that Kakashi might not have only just mastered every jutsu of the leaf, but the majority of the jutsus outside the leaf. And considering the fact that Kakashi is stated to know over 1,000 jutsu and we've only ever seen around 2,000 in the entirety of Naruto's run, knowing about half of the all-time jutsus is kind of crazy, especially when you consider the fact that about 500 to 800 of those jutsus come from non-canon material, while the statement that Kakashi has mastered over 1,000 jutsus is entirely canon, meaning that Kakashi actually knows probably more than 50% of all ninjutsu. Now, obviously, things like Mud Wall become relatively inconsequential at the highest level of battle, but that's only if that Mud Wall is being created by somebody without massive chakra and attack power potential, as somebody at the highest level of combat, like we're creating, could use Mud Wall to make the Grand Canyon. Simple jutsus, when used by high-level shinobi, become infinitely more powerful. Look at the difference between Sasuke as a child using the Great Fireball technique, and Madara using the Great Fireball technique against the Shinobi Alliance in the 4th Great Shinobi World War. Same jutsu, different people. Fortunately, our next category is significantly easier to answer, because our next category is Taijutsu. And there's only one answer. You want the Taijutsu prowess of Might Guy, aka 8 Gates. Madara himself called Might Guy the strongest ever Taijutsu user, and he wasn't lying. While technically Naruto using Taijutsu in Baryon mode probably makes him the strongest ever Taijutsu user, it has more to do with Baryon mode and less to do with Naruto's Taijutsu, even though Naruto's Taijutsu is probably top 3 in the entire show. What it truly boils down to is the 8 Gates. The 8 Gates are 8 Tenketsu points throughout your body. Now, if you recognize the word Tenketsu points, that's because there's over 300 Tenketsu points in a regular chakra-laden body, and the 8 trigrams technique focus on striking these Tenketsu points. Much in the same way that by either amplifying or shutting down these Tenketsu points, chakra flow can get out of whack, the 8 Tenketsu points of the 8 Gates are used as chakra limiters. And these chakra limiters are there in order to make sure that nobody ever uses greater than 20% of their maximum potential, as a body using 100% of its maximum potential injures itself. However, as you open more and more of these gates, the body gets access to more and more of its chakra, allowing the user to use stronger and stronger attacks. Like how users upon opening the 3rd gate, the Gate of Life, are now able to use the Reverse Lotus. Or when users open the 6th gate, the Gate of View, they're now able to use the technique Morning Peacock. But the true highest level of the 8 gates is the 8th gate. Opening the 8th gate allows you to use 100% of your potential, as you puncture the Tenketsu point in your heart, driving all of the chakra in your body to your heart. This causes your heart to beat so quickly that it evaporates your blood, which essentially causes you to burn from the inside out. However, before burning to death, you gain access to 100 times the power you had as a regular person, meaning Might Guy in the 8 gates was 100 times stronger than he was with no gates open. We saw with the opening of this technique that Might Guy was able to pull off attacks like Night Guy, a technique so powerful that he was able to bend space-time with it, a technique so powerful that it kicked a hole in Madara that almost killed him when he had the healing factor of Hashirama and the 10 Tails chakra. And if you were to simply sprinkle a little healing factor onto Might Guy like Hashirama's or the Byakuya seal, he could have maintained this 8 gates for 10, 20, even 100 times longer. And if Might Guy was able to continue his 8 gates rampage he was going on against Madara for even 50 more seconds, Madara would have died. But unfortunately, Might Guy didn't have the healing factor or the chakra to continue 8 gates. However, the character we're creating wouldn't have to worry about that. Cool, now that Taijutsu's done and dusted, let's get to chakra. This one also, fortunately, is incredibly easy. Well, a lot of people would say that you want the chakra of Hashirama, or Naruto, or Kurama, or even possibly the chakra of the 10 Tails. You wouldn't want any of their chakra levels. Well, obviously, Hashirama and Naruto are said to have the most chakra out of any humans ever as Ashura's reincarnation, and while Ashura himself also would have been an incredible choice because he got the chakra of Hagoromo, let's take it one step further back here and acknowledge that Ashura got his chakra from Hagoromo, and that Hashirama and Naruto were just reincarnations of the guy who got his chakra from Hagoromo. However, what's terrible about this is that Hagoromo isn't even really the choice that we want. I mean, he is, and he isn't. See, we don't want living Hagoromo's chakra, even though it was probably more chakra than anybody has ever had ever. We want dead Hagoromo's chakra, because dead Hagoromo's chakra doesn't really even have chakra. Dead Hagoromo derives all of his chakra from the Pure Lands. Operating as a Sage of Six Paths, Hagoromo is the connection between the Pure Lands and Earth. And as Hagoromo derives all of his chakra from the Pure Lands, extra-dimensional ninja heaven, which has infinite energy, that means that Hagoromo has infinite chakra. So long as the Pure Lands, which technically don't physically exist as they are once again just heaven, still exist, then Hagoromo has chakra. So while choosing Hagoromo's chakra levels while he was alive would be a good choice, the real choice is choosing Hagoromo after he's died. So how much chakra do you want? All of it. Speaking of Hagoromo, let's stick with Hagoromo, because we're on to the Are You a Jinchuriki section of today's video, and based off everything else we've talked about today, I think you can guess what the answer is. Yes, you're a Jinchuriki. No, you don't want Kurama. Yes, you're taking the 10 Tails. Even though Kurama probably represents roughly 50% of the 10 Tails power, as it's stated that Kurama is stronger than all of the other tailed beasts combined, which means he has to have at least 50% of the 10 Tails chakra, you can just be a 10 Tails Jinchuriki. It's been done like 3 or 4 times. It's probably how Boruto is gonna end. Also making you a 10-tails Jinchuriki with a Rinne Sharingan, nothing new. In fact, those things usually go hand in hand. We saw Madara as the 10-tails Jinchuriki with the Rinne Sharingan, able to cast Infinite Tsukiyomi. Kage as the pseudo 10-tails Jinchuriki, kind of more complicated when we talk about her, with the Rinne Sharingan, battled against her two sons, Hagoromo and Hamura, for 3 months until they were able to seal her. The 10-tails is said to be a being of pure malice. Naruto, when he sensed its chakra using his Sage mode, realized that it had no consciousness, and therefore that it couldn't be reasoned with, which makes the 10-tails kind of a really good tailed beast to be the Jinchuriki of, as it operates more just like an endless battery of nature energy. It's said that the 10-tails is so powerful that it's what terraformed the earth. And considering the fact that tailed beasts in Jinchuriki get stronger by becoming perfect Jinchurikis, this means that any 10-tails Jinchuriki who is a perfect Jinchuriki of the 10-tails should hypothetically be stronger than the entity that terraformed the earth, which we've actually seen as Obito and Hagoromo as 10-tails Jinchuriki wielded the Sword of Ninabuka, a sword that was said to have created the earth and that could also destroy it. And the fact that Obito, who was probably the weakest 10-tails Jinchuriki we've ever seen, could wield the Sword of Ninabuka just goes to show just how powerful being a 10-tails Jinchuriki makes you. So yes, obviously you're a Jinchuriki, and obviously you get the 10-tail. Hell, let's slap 2 in you. Who cares anymore? After Jinchuriki, we have defensive power. How hard of a punch can you take? And while there's a lot of really good options here, like the Susanoo or the Yata Mirror, even though the Susanoo is known as the greatest defensive jutsu of all time, it's not. We've seen the Susanoo destroyed by Tsunade's kick, Momoshiki's rubble attack, Ishiki's hand. And while obviously all of these attacks are incredibly powerful and were used against different variations of Susanoo, even Itachi-Sano, which had the Yata Mirror, one of the strongest defensive abilities in Naruto, was almost destroyed by Kiri. Genuinely, if you want somebody's defensive abilities in Naruto, it boils down to 2 options. The first person whose defensive ability you would want is Naruto. Naruto, with just the power of KCM2, not Kurama Chakra mode, has shown defensive feats greater than any Susanoo. Naruto, with just the power of KCM2, was hit with Toneri's strongest attack, Golden Wheel Rebirth Explosion. We've already talked about it. And this attack cut the moon in half, meaning that Toneri dispatched the only planetary level attack we've ever seen in Naruto. And not only did Naruto take it to the chin, he was completely fine after being hit with it, spawning hundreds of shadow clones to throw Rasengan barrages at Toneri, meaning that in this moment, Naruto's defensive ability in KCM2 can be scaled to small planet level, which is the highest we've ever been able to scale anybody's defensive power in Naruto, as this is the only time we've ever seen a planet level attack. Now you could argue that Kaguya being able to survive Chibuka Tensei once, because when Naruto and Sasuke did it to her, she died, puts her durability somewhere in the planetary region because a planet was quite literally formed on top of her, and that's fair. But once again, we're talking the difference between a ceiling jutsu and an offensive ability. However, unfortunately, even Naruto isn't the correct answer anymore. See, while Naruto probably does have the highest defensive potential out of anybody in Naruto, that's of people that can get hit. Because recently in the Boruto manga, and now the anime, a new character has been introduced. A cyborg with a Shinjutsu that makes him impossible to hit. That cyborg, of course, would be Daemon. See, Daemon has a Shinjutsu ability where any attack launched at him will be fired back at the person attacking him. The attack doesn't even have to necessarily be launched. If you have the intention of attacking Daemon, that intention will be reflected upon you. The stronger your intention, the stronger the attack fired back at you, meaning that it is impossible to attack Daemon, as any attack you try to launch a Daemon, even before you try and launch it, is gonna hit you in the face. And while Daemon's durability and defensive abilities may not be that great, it's irrelevant. Daemon might have the most glass chin out of anybody in Naruto. It doesn't matter, no one's ever gonna reach that chin. It's the same reasoning as Gojo with the Infinity. Maybe behind the Infinity, Gojo's incredibly weak. He's not, but stick with me. It doesn't matter if Gojo's incredibly weak if you physically cannot reach his skin. Now, obviously, somewhere down the line, somebody's gonna be able to attack Daemon because either
I didn't have the intention, or I don't consider this an attack.
But currently, as it stands, Daemon is impossible to hit. Meaning that before Toneri could even launch a planetary level attack at Daemon, the planetary attack would have cut Toneri in half. But speaking of Toneri, we're now moving on to attack power. And considering the fact that I just told you that we've only ever seen one planetary level attack in all of Naruto, whose attack power do you think you want? You want Toneri's. Specifically, Toneri in Tenseigan mode.
But Nick, how are we in Tenseigan mode without a Tenseigan?
I don't know, figure it out. Golden Wheel Rebirth Explosion explosion is the strongest ability we've ever seen in Naruto. Outside of maybe the Chakra cannon that the Hidden Cloud created that they said would be able to destroy the moon if it really came down to it. But giving you the attack potency of a hypothetical attack from a non-living item is stupid. So look at you, you're small planet level. Congratulations. Now I'm gonna put a little asterisk next to Toneri and his strongest ability, because the real strongest attack power is more likely than not Shibai, as it said that Shibai with his full arsenal of Genjutsu was so powerful that a scream from him was able to change the weather, meaning that a fully realized Shibai is probably significantly stronger than anything Toneri could even imagine. But once again, currently no evidence for it, so right now you get Toneri's attack power. And no, Indra's arrow could not destroy the moon, neither could Ultra Big Ball Sage of Six Paths Rasen Shuriken. City level, island level max. Now that we're done with attack power, let's move on to Genjutsu. Now this one is gonna make sense because the strongest Genjutsu in Naruto is obviously Infinite Tsukiyomi. And in order to pull off Infinite Tsukiyomi, you need a Rinne Sharingan you can deflect off the moon. Infinite Tsukiyomi places the entire world into Tsukiyomi infinitely. And technically, Infinite Tsukiyomi doesn't have to be tied into the God Tree. Infinite Tsukiyomi and the God Tree just work hand in hand because everyone starts standing still, which means the roots of the God Tree can reach all across the globe and snag everybody up super easily. But the use of Infinite Tsukiyomi doesn't require a God Tree and vice versa. If you have the Rinne Sharingan and enough chakra to project that Rinne Sharingan onto the moon, if you just stubbed your toe one day, you could put the entire world in Genjutsu. So long as you can see the moon though. That's really the one big weakness with Infinite Tsukiyomi, is that if you can't see the moon, you can't reflect your eyeball off it. So if the earth is between you and the moon, as it is sometimes, you can't pull off Infinite Tsukiyomi. Fortunately, however, if you can use Infinite Tsukiyomi, you can probably use regular Tsukiyomi, which is more than good enough for your average occasion. It literally put Kakashi in a coma. Now, in a circumstance like this, where you're giving a character every single hack under the sun, Kodoa Matsukame would also be a very good choice. As with the power of Kodoa Matsukame and an infinite healing factor powered infinitely through infinite chakra, you would be able to use Kodoa Matsukame probably several times a day, if not perpetually. However, ironically, Infinite Tsukiyomi and Kodoa Matsukame may not even be the correct choices for Genjutsu. Though we are going to stick to Infinite Tsukiyomi when it comes to Genjutsu. Coming up next, we have hacks. Now this is a category where you put something that really doesn't fall into the bins of any of the other categories. Something that's not necessarily a ninjutsu or a taijutsu or a genjutsu or attack power. Something that goes beyond a simple one-word explanation. And it was revealed to us very recently, I'm talking Boruto chapter 79, what hacks exactly you would want. And that hack is none other than Ada's charm ability. See, so far as we understood for a long time, Ada's charm ability made anybody who wasn't an Otsutsuki or blood relation fall in love with her the second they either heard her voice, saw her, or really just came into her presence, which meant Ada had an ability very similar to her brother Daemon. Nobody, regardless of how much they wanted to initially, could attack her because they were in love with her. See, like I've already stated, this doesn't work on the likes of Kawaki, Boruto, and Daemon, on top of the fact that it also doesn't appear to work on Sumire or Sarada. And if just that, and only that, was your hacks, it would still be incredibly powerful. Now, even if hypothetically somebody was able to break through Daemon's reflecting ability, there is still a 99.999 repeating chance that they are affected by your charm ability, as everybody on Earth except for 5 people is affected. But Ada's charm ability actually goes beyond that. See, we learned in chapter 79 that Ada can not only sway everybody on Earth into loving her, she also has the ability to control reality. See, when Kawaki expressed his desire to Ada to be Naruto's son and for Boruto to be the outsider, Ada said, bet, and made it happen, rewriting the reality of the entire world so everybody on Earth thought Boruto killed Naruto and that Kawaki was actually Kawaki Uzumaki. And this worked on everybody affected by Ada's charm, which is the entire world outside of 5 people. So now Ada's charm ability not only makes it so that nobody can attack her, but also if she wants to, she can rewrite the reality of the entire world through memory manipulation. Kind of like the Founding Titan's ability to change the memories of any subjects of Ymir. So you can either put the whole world in timeout using Infinite Tsukiyomi, or you can just change what they believe using Ada's charm ability. Which brings us to equipment. Not that you would need it. There's only 2 things that you would really want in the equipment category. They would either be Choji's food pills or hero water. Now, hero water hails from the hidden waterfall. It's a sacred vial of water that upon consuming increases the chakra of whoever consumed it by at least tenfold, meaning that if you only take the teensiest little sip, your chakra will increase tenfold. However, if you drink 10 times that tiny amount, your chakra will increase 100-fold. We don't really know the upper limits of how much chakra you can get from hero water, since hero water is technically a double-edged sword. See, by however much your chakra is increased, your lifespan is shortened. Meaning that if you increase your chakra level by 10-fold for a battle, that will decrease how much life you have left by 10-fold. So if you had 10 years left to live, you now have 1. If you had 100 years left to live and you increase your chakra level by 100 times, you now have 1 year left to live. But considering the fact that our character is more likely than not immortal, the side effects of hero water really are inconsequential. The second option is the Akamichi's tricolored pills. Now these pills forcibly convert fat into energy, which is actually how the Akamichis operate to begin with, as they all have an ability known as caloric conversion that allows them to convert their fat into chakra. Now these tricolored pills are only really used by those who aren't great at caloric conversion, as the use of these pills, while it does increase caloric conversion, does technically poison the body. However, the red chili pill operates very similarly to the 8th gate, where it pushes you to 100% of your maximum potential, but at the cost of your health, as after taking the red color pill, you will burn all of the fat in your body into energy almost immediately. And considering the fact that some fat in your body is absolutely essential, as going below roughly 2.5% body fat is deadly, getting rid of all of your fat using the red colored pill kills you. So really it's up to you. Would you prefer the tricolored pills or the hero water? In the grand scheme of things, concerning the fact that lifespan probably isn't an issue for this character, hero water is probably the better choice. However, the red colored pills have been assigned a higher value of output with the 100 times, while with the hero water we've only ever heard at least 10 times. And that's it, the strongest character you can create in Naruto. A character with irrelevant speed, irrelevant defensive power, small planet attack power, infinite stamina, and God knows what else. You get light speed reaction time, memory manipulation, the ability to put the entire world under Genjutsu. And the worst part is, I know there's gonna be people in the comments being like, oh, you didn't give him creation of all things. He's got Hagoromo's chakra, is a 10-tailed Shinchuriki, and has a Rinne Sharingan. Creation of all things was implied. And there you have it, the strongest character of all time. Did you like the video? Did I miss anything? Tell me in the comments below. And while you're down there, please, for me, like this video, subscribe to the page, and hit that noti bell. So please stop asking me what would happen if Nagato fused with Samehada.